are Locked On Big 12, your daily podcast on the Big 12 Conference, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everybody. Josh Neighbors here, Locked On Big 12 Podcast. Today it is March 1st, 2022, and our show is brought to you by Run Your Pool. On today's show, it's a busy one. Still no video, still on vacation right now, so the Wi-Fi is not good enough to support video. But we're going to talk about Baylor and their win last night over Texas and why Scott Drew is the best coach in the country right now and maybe has been the last few years. We'll talk about that. Texas Tech's win against Kansas State. Art Briles getting canned or stepping down, whatever you prefer, at Grambling. And then look ahead to tonight's games as well. All that and more coming up on today's show. All right, let's get into it here today on the Locked On Big 12 podcast. Once again, I am your host, Josh Neighbors. Make sure you follow us on Twitter at LOBig12. And make sure you guys subscribe here on YouTube. I always appreciate when you guys like the videos and leave comments. Always gives me some inspiration. Yeah, so busy show here today. Many Baylor-related topics. We'll touch on Art Briles here in a little bit, but I wanted to start off with a conversation about what we saw last night between Texas and Baylor. So last night I was watching the game, and I'd bet on Texas, and I was texting with my good buddy Connor Jones, who I'd recommended to do the same there. The thought process for me was, one, Texas is very good at home. Two, Baylor had just played and gone all out to get a win, win 48 hours earlier against Kansas with only 7 guys, to go on the road and play a really good defensive team in Texas. It's Chris Beard, their bread and butter, especially this group. This is not a group that is the most offensively inclined basketball group, and much more less so than the Shaka Smart teams that we saw at Texas. This group, in my opinion, is much more defensively inclined. To have to go with 7 guys and to go and get a victory there, I thought would be not nearly impossible, but such a tough ask in a 48-hour span to beat Kansas, especially the way they did with the rally, and to hold them off late. And then, just to have the gas tank to go on the road and get in a fist fight, some hand-to-hand combat, as our man Fran Fraschilla likes to say. They got it done. They got 3 points from the bench. Jeremy Sohan scored 3 points. They played 7 guys. Flo Thamba plays 28. Kendall Brown plays 30. 26 for Meyer. 37 for Flagler. 38 for Akinjo. 29 for Sohan. And 12 for Bonner. For them to go on the road and to get this win, and not only that, they outscored Texas by 10 points and end up pulling away late as the game went on. Texas does have some depth. They actually have, the fact that off the bench they've got Dylan Disu, who didn't really play that much, but they got Brock Cunningham, they've got Devin Askew, they've got Jace Febres. Those are all players that were either pretty high recruits or we know can play pretty well at the college level. The fact that they were able to outlast them and actually thrive in the end of the game was crazy to me. I was texting my buddy. I was saying that this feels like where Texas can kind of make a little run and maybe put this thing away. He texted back and said, yeah, about 8 minutes left. I felt really good. Baylor's guards took over, man. Flagler and Akinjo had great nights. Akinjo, who's usually a pretty inefficient player, goes for 19 points, 8 rebounds, 7 assists, 2 steals, 6 of 14 shooting, which is not excellent by any stretch of the imagination, but still, it's around, you're approaching 50%, so that's good enough there. And then Flagler, 19 points of his own, 7 of 14 shooting, 5 for 7 from deep, and those two guys played 37 and 38 minutes respectively. I thought the plan for Texas was to keep pounding that ball inside, and they tried. It ended up not working out for them. They really just could not shoot the 3 ball very well in this game either. And I thought the strategy Baylor had of spreading them out, so many questions were being asked about Baylor, about, okay, now you lose JTT, you're going to have to go big in many places, but then you got the Sohan at the 5, will they be able to last? I didn't know if there was enough time to make Sohan at the 5 a weapon, right? Eventually, if they had more time to make their small ball lineup, like a month or 2 months, it could be something that they didn't want to do originally, right? They'd rather have JTT. And now then you turn it into a weapon. They've already turned it into a weapon in a very short amount of time. That is why last night I tweeted this and it got plenty of reaction. I said, I just watched Baylor beat Kansas and then Texas on the road with 7 players. I think Scott Drew is the best coach in college basketball. And the reason why I'm saying this is that think about what they did last year, right? What an accomplishment through a weird season at times to get COVID late, to go on the run they did, and then to, just bring out the bazookas against Gonzaga and spread them out and light them up the way they did. And they lit up a lot of teams on their way in the NCAA tournament, right? They had a nice stretch. They lit up Wisconsin. They beat the hell out of Houston. That game against Villanova was touch and go there for a second. The Hartford beginning wasn't great, but they just had the runs in them. They were inevitable in a lot of ways. To lose those guys, we talked about it, Mark Vital, to lose Davion Mitchell, to lose Jared Butler, to lose Maceo Teague, to lose those guys, and then to have to come back this year and revamp, rebuild. I know they got a lot of guys still from the last year's team, but for there to be so much change, and then to deal with the injuries to LJ Cryer, to deal with the injuries now to Jonathan Tchamwa-Tchatchoua, who is this improving player and was this kind of lethal, almost NBA-ish, small, rim-running big with great athleticism to thrive, to lose those guys and still now thrive is unbelievable. It feels like the only thing that can stop this team is the gas tank. That's why I say, if you look at the last 2 years, who has done obviously it's like, yeah, last year did the best job. His team won the entire damn thing. But who has done a better job coaching their team, given the circumstances, in the last 2 years, last 3 years, you can say. You can go back 3 years. Who has done a better job? They're developed into a powerhouse. They are now the number 3 the number 3 team in the country. They're on the 1 line right now. They're still alive. They're actually even right now for the Big 12 lead. I know KU's got the 2 games coming up with TCU this week, so we'll see how that shakes out for them. But for them to still be in the Big 12 hunt with 1 game left here, they got their final game against Iowa State, who was their first Big 12 game. I remember that was a top 10 battle. And that last one will not be a easy game either, but a chance to go 26-5, still a chance to win the Big 12. After everything that we talked about, the last 3 seasons too, count that COVID year and how weird things were, and for them to get to this point, it's remarkable. That's why I say he is the best coach in college basketball. The coach of the year does not always go to the best coach in college basketball, just like the MVP in the NBA does not always go to the best player in the sport. Same thing for the National Player of the Year. It's who had the best season. But sure, Scott Drew is not going to win Coach of the Year, right? It's not going to be how this thing goes down. And also 26-4 back in 2020. So the COVID shortened season, 26-4 last in 2019, 2020. 2020, 2021, national champions. They end up going, let's see, what was their final record? 28-2. And then this year to be 25-5 at this point in time. You just absolutely crushing. And so sure, Tommy Lloyd is very deserving of a National Coach of the Year. Mark Adams, very deserving for National Coach of the Year, given circumstances as well. But the best coach doing it right now is Scott Drew. Nobody knows how to get the most out of his players like Scott Drew. You might say, well, there's other circumstances where guys don't have as good of talent and they're achieving high levels. Yeah, but this guy, they're winning massive games. They're beating elite competition, and they're having guys drop like flies. They're absolutely expending as much energy as possible here, losing their players, and they've won 4 straight games, right? They get the overtime win, a gutsy overtime win against Oklahoma State. They get the 80-70 win over Kansas where they rallied. They have this game where they pull away in the second half. They're just finding ways to win basketball games. They're playing their style. They're imposing their will. And late in games, they're getting the job done when they should be on tired legs. Can they keep this up? I don't know. I was wrong for doubting them. I feel like the drop-off was bound to come, and it still might come, right? How long can you ask these kids to keep up this much play at this level, right? It's not about the quality of play. It's about the amount of time they have to play this hard and this well. They're going to need a Kinjo to be more efficient. They can't have Sohan score 3 points on 0 for 4 shooting. I mean, Bonner's out there he's out there due to necessity. That guy, if you watch him, clearly does not belong. But there's it feels like there's a Bonner 15-point, 5-3 performance that's going to come eventually. That guy is resolute and he's taking shots, and if they're open, I guess he's got to take them at some parts. But this is really a 6-man job that we're seeing right now. And they just beat Kansas. They won at Texas, and not to mention they beat a really good Oklahoma State team, a pretty good one at home as well in overtime. So that's why, and my mentions are a complete mess at this point in time. I mean, I tweeted that out, and it got 15 responses proper, but people were responding to people, and that's what happens to do tweets like this. I love the engagement, but that was just the thought that popped into my head. I'm like, man, who's better than this? Who's doing a better job of coaching his group up, of all the circumstances that they're going with right now, of what they're achieving in the conference they're achieving it, to be in this fight, to be in this hunt a year after making the deep run and winning the entire damn thing, to come back to look so great in the non-conference, to lose two of the most important players on your basketball team, to have to rely on Sohan at the 5, a young kid, to come in, to have Thamba step up his play and take McCormick behind the woodshed and whip his ass like he did. And, that 18-9 he had on Saturday. He's getting the most out of these guys. When they needed an efficient game from McKinjo last night, or semi-efficient at least, 40% shooting, he delivered. He finally gave it to him. When they needed Adam Flagler to hit some, Flagler had that 5-0 run last night where he attacked the rim. I think it was a shot off the right window, I believe, and hit a wing 3, kind of between the wing and the top of the key on the right side. And it's just oh my God, the guys just knew how to win. Scott Drew, it's or if they don't believe it, he makes them believe. And that's why we had Mac Rhodes on Big 12 Today last week. And he's just if you've never talked to Scott Drew, if you're having a bad day, your day will change. We talked to Scott Drew a little while ago, and he's yeah, this is part of the game, and our guys, we just got to respond. Relentless positivity. It's what I always say about Scott Drew, and it's just hard not to smile when you see him work and the way you see him coach right now. They're doing a phenomenal job. And then the entire staff is too. That was something that's other people mentioned to me. But Jerome Tang and those guys that he's got on staff. It's not just Scott Drew. It's the whole staff. There is look. I a week ago said that if I had to bet money on a team from the Big 12 making the Final Four, I would go with Texas Tech. At this point, I think I have to reassess that somewhat. And we'll get to Texas Tech here in 1 second. But, who's playing better than Baylor right now in the conference at the 4 straight wins and wins over, 2 of the top 5 teams in the league, one of which coming on the road. And that team's only lost once at home this year, and that game wasn't really a home game. Texas Tech infiltrated their arena and made it a 50-50 split. So, I feel really good about Tech. I feel really good about Baylor. Kansas, I just want to feel good about them. I really do want to, which coming from Missouri grad is a pretty crazy thing to say. But, the McCormick piece, it's just, he's not playing well in big games against really good competition, so there's a bit of concern there. But this is why Baylor right now, if you were to power rank the teams in the conference, there's no doubt the team that's got to be number 1 at this point in time has to be Baylor. I know Texas Tech did sweep them, all right? I know Texas Tech swept Baylor, all right? And that's a great accomplishment for them. But this Baylor Bears team since then has won 4 straight games. There are some questions about Texas Tech at this point. Not fully healthy. What kind of guy is TJ Shannon? Once again, I encourage you guys to go over to listen to Locked On Red Raiders. Those guys have some suggestions about what Texas Tech can do late in games on offense. But right now, there's nobody better in the country coaching basketball than Scott Drew. The body of work over the last 3 seasons is absolutely it's undeniable at this point in time. So I'm pretty comfortable saying Scott Drew is the best coach of college basketball. I'm actually pretty comfortable saying that. The more I talk about it, the more I think about it, there's really nobody else I'd put up there who can match that 3-year run that we're seeing. Sure, you could say Mark Few's done a great job, but he hasn't won the big one yet. And I hate the idea of winning the big one and kind of having that idea there. But 2020 didn't have a champion, and I think that Kansas team had a great shot, but Baylor was in excellent position. 2021, our champion was the Baylor Bears, and in 2022, It looks like a 1 seed might go to the Baylor Bears, and that feels crazy to say after everything they've dealt with. Still, once again, they've got a lot of talent. There's no denying that. But with guys dropping like flies and the minute loads and how James Akinjo does not seem to be efficient, but it still works for him. It's awesome to watch. Their defense obviously cooks too. Their defense has been fantastic. All right, we're going to take a quick break here on today's show, and when we come back, we'll talk about Texas Tech's win over Kansas State last night. A gutsy win, not a pretty win, but they get this thing done. First, a quick word from our sponsors. Today's show is brought to you by Run Your Pool. If you guys want the best place to run a bracket pool, this is the way to do it. March Madness is just 2 weeks away, friends. Election Sunday is less than 2 weeks away. That means you need to start thinking now about where you're going to be running your brackets this year. Are you going for the usual? Are you looking for the best? We've done our homework, and here we're running our brackets with runyourpool.com. Along with standard brackets, Run Your Pool offers game types like Survivor or Pick'em. They have options to edit scoring. They offer more intel to make your picks. All that stuff you won't find on ESPN or CBS. Clearly, we believe in Run Your Pool because, like I said, we're running our brackets there ourselves. There's no truer test than that. So once again, you guys can go right now to runyourpool.com/lockedon. And while you're there, create your own pool for your friends and family. Enter Pure Madness. That's PUREMADNESS, Pure Madness at checkout for a $10 off your custom pool. That's runyourpool.com/lockedon for a chance to win a cash prize as well. All right, so we got to look last night, another result that we had in the Big 12 Conference. It was Texas Tech getting the win 73-68 over, once again, a resilient but sadly just short Kansas State team. They had a run once again. If they're in a different conference, they're going to, things will be different for them, I feel like. But they're in the Big 12, and that's not how it goes. But they're in the ACC. They definitely be a tournament team. Speaking of teams that's not playing a big rotation, 35, 37, 38, 38, and 40. Those are the minute totals for Kansas State. That's not sustainable. Davion Bradford played 5 minutes, got 3 fouls in those 5 minutes. And then also they get 7 minutes as well. Somebody else off the bench. But Kevin O'Banner had a really, didn't really play much of a factor in this game. Marco Santos Silva didn't play much of a factor in this game. It really was Davion Warren who had the big night, 23 points, 4 steals, and 4 boards as well. This just kind of speaks, and also Bryson Williams, 19 points, 4 boards. He's first team Big 12. I don't know at this point if we can deny Bryson Williams a spot in the first team all Big 12. This guy is he's such a dangerous weapon for them because the way he spreads the floor. This is a guy that's shooting 55% from the floor. It's a guy who's shooting 44% from 3. He doesn't shoot a lot of threes, but he can spread you out. And so numbers-wise, he's there. And also 79% from the line. This guy is approaching 50, 40, 80. And approaching actually 50, 45, 80. So that spread's really good. And you can just tell this guy's gotten better. He's just gotten better as a college player. And now he's a really efficient part of a fun offense. He's a kind of spread him out big guy who can go into the post, athletic enough to guard some bigs. But once again, fun weapon, and this is a feature of this team. They have a bunch of guys who are all around the same height, and he is kind of their de facto center. Marco Santos Silva is in some ways as well. But Davion Warren, 9 for 11, it was his night. And that's the big part about, we're talking about this team, is that they have different guys step up. We saw TJ Shannon, 18 minutes off the bench. In his scoring, he started and did not start. Started last game, did not start in this game. Some questions about the health of Kevin McCullough, who we didn't see in this game. Maybe you rest him up until the Big 12 tournament. They need him healthy, and that's one thing about this league you're seeing right now is like where is the health of all of your team, right? Where are you, health wise? Mary Martin's just coming back, right? We'll see if LJ Cryer comes back. I think there's some doubts about that. We're seeing that, with Kevin McCullough, right? So all these teams want to get healthy and get their guys ready to go, for the stretch run. And we'll see how Mark Adams chooses to manage this. But just another example of a great defensive night for them, holding Kansas State, a team that can kind of put it up on you to 68 points. And, their offense was good enough. They didn't shoot very well from beyond the arc, but they did shoot well from the free throw line, and they shot 49% from the floor, so good enough to get the win. And when you get guys like Warren going for 23 and Bryson Williams going for 19, those two guys combining for 42 of your 73 points, you're going to be in good shape. All right, one more quick word from our sponsors, then we'll touch on this Art Briles thing happening right now because it's very interesting. It's also quite ridiculous. Today's show is brought to you by BetOnline and BetOnline.net. If you guys are gearing up for tournament season, you want to do something in addition to your brackets when it comes to action, BetOnline is the best place. That'll be your tournament central, if you will. They've got the latest odds, totals, player performance, props, where to find where the next coach is going to land. BetOnline.net is the number one spot for all of your sports betting needs. BetOnline remains the best spot for all of your scores, podcasts, news, lines, whatever else you need. It's not just basketball. They've got hockey, boxing, UFC, Olympic coverage when that was going on. All kind of Olympic sports coverage still continues as well. It's not just Olympic season. They've got some odds for that stuff too. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends in action. BetOnline, it's where the game starts. All right, so yesterday we got the news that Art Briles, his tenure at Grambling, is come to a ceremonious end. I'll read from Pete Thamel here, who actually had the scoop first. It says, Art Briles informed Grambling State University on Monday that he'll no longer be the school's offensive coordinator, saying in a statement obtained by ESPN that he did not want to be a quote-unquote distraction to the football team. Briles' decision comes after the hire by first-year head coach Hugh Jackson was met with a wave of backlash. Briles was fired by Baylor in 2016 after a campus-wide sexual assault investigation led to an independent investigation and his subsequent dismissal. He also said, quote, unfortunately, I feel that my continued presence will be a distraction to you and your team, which is the last thing that I want. I have the utmost respect for the university and your players. This is absolutely, it's hilarious in a way because it's hilariously sad that also Hugh Jackson released a statement that saying, us bringing up Art Briles' transgressions would not allow the victims to heal. And so it's us who should not be talking about Art Briles' issues because it could, affect those who were affected. I know people think that letter exonerates Art Briles. It does not. He even admitted to wrongdoing. He's said it before. He said, I should have done stuff different. I'll learn, I'll grow, I think was the quote from him. So those who say he did nothing wrong, point to the man's own words. What I don't get here is if you're going to hire Art Briles, you need to do it under with the conditions being that you are not going to cave and fire him. Now, this is not something I would do. So if you're going to hire Art Briles, you must be able to stomach the backlash. Because if you're just going to, if you know you can be bullied into firing him, especially bullied into firing him without any new information or anything coming to light, like just the backlash of the situation, then you should not fire him. If you can't take the heat, get out of the kitchen. Like don't go into the kitchen then. Don't put yourself in that kind of a situation if you know there's a chance that you might not be able to handle the repercussions. That makes zero sense. Zero sense. Why the hell would you bring him on if you could be, I won't say bullied, but coaxed into letting him go? Or, he might feel that heat. Obviously, it's a conversation. I don't think they fired him, but I think a conversation was had internally where it was like, he needs to go. So for both parties, it's like, look, if Art can be convinced that he needs to step down or the school is convinced they feel like they need to make a change, then it shouldn't be happening. Hugh Jackson also, I believe his foundation has come under fire. There was a tweet from the foundation yesterday that was pretty weird, and so that's something that we're going to track now. But Hugh Jackson has yet to coach a game for Grambling, and because of that, I mean, it's like this could not have gotten off to a worse start. Now, I know we don't normally talk about Grambling football on here, so I want to direct you guys in a direction that you can probably definitely get more of this coverage. Locked on HBCU, they've got everything that you guys need for HBCU football and basketball. They're going to be doing some coverage on this for sure. So I know we don't talk about Grambling football a lot, but obviously Art Briles, it's a guy whose name was floated around for jobs, and people are wondering what the statute of limitations is on getting him back into coaching. I think it's over. I don't think we see him in college again. I will say this. I think the one chance that he might have had to get a college job in some capacity would be Liberty University, where the athletic director, I think it was, or president, I forget, from Baylor went. Afterwards, they hired Hugh Freeze, but once Jerry Falwell was out the door, I think that went away too. So this just shows you like him getting back into college football, and it should be like this. It should be like this. There should be accountability. There should be we should hold people responsible for their actions or for their inaction. This is positive, but I don't see a situation now where he can get a job in college after this happens. So Art Briles no longer your offensive coordinator over with the Baylor Bears. All right, Baylor Bears with Grambling. All right, one more thing before we wrap up today. We've got some Big 12 action tonight on the docket as I am pulling it up right now. But these games down the last week of the season, you're getting senior nights, you're getting great moments. We've got West Virginia at Oklahoma. If you go to Bracketology right now and you go check out what Joe Lunardi's got going on, Oklahoma is still on the bubble. There's still a chance that they could get in. They're going to need to rip off some wins. They're going to need to do it in a pretty timely fashion as well. Joe Lunardi right now does not have them on the bubble. He has got them off the next 4 out. So I think a run from them could put them in the field. It's going to depend on what that run looks like. But it starts, once again, it started with that win against Oklahoma State. It's got to continue with a win against West Virginia. And then they have to go into the weekend, and I forget who they play this Saturday, but they have to go this weekend, get a win on Saturday, and I think they have to get themselves a trip to the Big 12 championship game, at least in my opinion, to put themselves on the right side of the bubble, and they're probably going to need some help as well. But for them, right now, they are sitting at 5-11. They would be the 9 seed, or 8 seed, because Oklahoma State at 6-10 is actually the 10, 9, 8. So they actually, Oklahoma State, good for them, would be the 7 seed if the season ended today. But Oklahoma still has at Kansas State left, so they can pick up 2 wins here, get themselves to 17-14, and then win a few. They're going to need to at least win 2 games. It's an outside shot. It's not looking good, but there is opportunity there. And for West Virginia, you're just playing for pride at this point. Maybe Taz Sherman gets you hot, but it feels like they just don't have enough parts right now. And then the last game tonight, there's only 2, and I like the way you're kind of breaking things up. 8 p.m. or 7 p.m. Central Time, I should say, on the plus. Kansas goes to TCU. So TCU, with their victory last week, put themselves off the bubble. Right now, Lunardi has TCU sitting as a 9 seed. So they're in pretty good shape thanks to that win they got over Texas Tech. The next step for them is, can you split a KU game? I think if you can get a win against Kansas, it's most likely going to come tonight, and it's difficult. If you get a win against Kansas, you're definitely in, for sure, no matter what else happens the rest of the year. If you lose both, you're going to probably have to win. Well, don't have to win, but a win against Morgantown and on the road in Morgantown will keep you on the right side of the bubble. And then one win, I think, in the Big 12 tournament would keep you in good shape. But right now, at 18-9, at 5th place in the Big 12, I think we're confident about the Horned Frogs' position. Once again, a split against Kansas, you can basically punch that ticket. You can put them in there. And so we'll see tonight what they've got for the Jayhawks. All right, that will do it for today's show. Make sure you follow me on Twitter. You can find me at @JoshNeighbors_. You can find the show at LOBig12. Till next time, my friends, as always, stay safe.